GM, Wasi here, with a pro tip that we want to dive into. If you've been playing this game for a while now and you want to improve, and try and transition into a pro player, one of the key things that we want to dive into today is the mulligan phase. The mulligan phase is when you select, it tells you here you're going second. That may or may not have anything to do with your power. So you really need to select your power first. I'm sure you know that. But the mulligan phase is this phase here where you can swap your cards out. And the difference between amateurs and pros, and I'm starting to realize this the more I play the game, you really need to give it thought, and that's why you actually have ample time to do this. It really depends if you're going first or second. And the general rule of thumb is if you're going second, you probably want to be reactive, try and envisage anything your opponent can throw at you. And in this case, I was pretty lucky. This one's a pretty useful card. And the only one here that I probably want to try and change is this one. If I'm trying to react, yeah, perhaps they use a God Power. So let's go with this now. I won't play the full gameplay here. But it's really about that for 1 to 3 mana to begin to see if you've actually picked good cards, whether you're going first or second. So let's see how this plays out and if you can establish some dominance early in the game. So the opponent played a 2/2. I'll go ahead and put my 1 mana because I don't want to use my bag of tricks too early. And pro tip number 2 is keeping a closer eye out on the Sanctum. It's really important, especially when you're playing with relics and things like that, to be able to see what's coming and what's being used so you can either block, and that's why blessed cards are quite handy, gives you a competitive advantage. If you're keeping an eye on the Sanctum, you'll be able to either restrict or enhance your own gameplay. So that's pro tip number 2. So back to our mulligan sort of choice here, you can see that this opponent's trying to have more cards than me early on. Now I have an option here, although this deals 4 damage, which might be a waste because it's only going to get rid of 1 card. I can choose to hold off here or play it. So if I want to do that, which I will for the purposes of this video, I just want to make sure that my opponent's attempt to take control of the board early was foiled. As a matter of fact, I'll see that and raise 1 card. So now we've gone from 2 to 1 to 2 to nothing. And let's see now as mana 3 unlocks how this plays out. So just a couple more turns and I'll end this video. I might actually concede the game and do another one just to take you through another example. So to me, it seems that may or may not be on the back foot. Okay, that's a really good card. Let's see how we can react to that if we're lucky with the next. Yep, that looks good, but it really, the downside here is in my deck, and this has nothing to do with the mulligan, I've relied on a confused, right? So I can actually combat this here if I'm able to connect with this hit. Beautiful. So that was a little bit lucky, and I definitely don't want this back line to get well established. So I'm going to actually use my bag of tricks again. So again, I'm repelling my opponent's um, surge to take control of the board, and I was able to again neutralize all their cards, and that had a lot to do with what I chose at the beginning. We'll do one more round, and then I'll concede this, and we can have another mulligan exercise. So let's see what the opponent does here, and if they put a relic, it will be perfect because I'll be able to remove it straight away, and then we can just, yeah, it's a good start to a game where you haven't lost control, which is always half the battle, as you know. And we should be able to neutralize this pretty good. Yeah, away we go. You get the idea now. we are definitely taking that one out and that one out. And again, we maintain dominance of the board. Okay, so that was the first example.